know what this is.
That's just a box. I don't know. There we go. Excellent. Thank you. So this is Twitter. I have 180 seconds to tell you about Twitter. Officially, it's called a microblogging platform. All it means is you have only 140 characters to make your point, and that includes spaces. So you have to be concise. It's very good for any conversation you would have via text message, minus 20 characters, to go on Twitter. It was originally started for people to give their status updates. What are you doing right now? But fortunately, that didn't last very long because feeding the cats isn't compelling. Feeding the cats, people would put it out there. I saw it. And so I put feeding the cats into the meat grinder, which gives you another idea of what Twitter turned into. Is the world's greatest place for one-liners. If you're a smartass, this should be your spiritual home. But if you look at Twitter overall, you will see most of the posts nowadays start with the word of the symbol at. And that means they're part of conversation. That was not really a major part of the Twitter plan, as I understand it. It just evolved. You give this powerful communication tool to users, and they just do stuff with it. You have no idea. You're like, wow, that's such a great idea. Did we really make that? But Twitter now is, I would say, 80% ats, especially me. There I am. I put up the, oh, thanks, Chris. Look at that. Where was I going now?
You were talking about at replies.
Thank you. Thank you.
Which I'm going to bring up.
Okay. Can I take a peek at my little notepad there?
Yeah.
Thank you kindly. Okay. Right. Thank you. You kill that, it's kind of boring. If you are a heavy-duty blog commenter, but not a blogger yourself, because you don't want to take that on, or for whatever reason, this is a good place for you, because you have a lot to contribute, but you don't necessarily want to guarantee a post every day or a post every week or 600 words on anything. This is a really good place. I mean, this is where news breaks. I was on here at 3 o'clock in the morning. I saw my friend Hez post, oh my God, Toronto explosions. I'm like, Toronto's exploding? I followed her link from her blog to Photo Junkie in Toronto, who was, I think, the second person I followed on Twitter. I then blogged about it using Heather's post and linking to that and linking to Photo Junkies. I put it up, and as of 20 minutes after it went up, it was #1 on Google, and it's been #1 on Google for Toronto explosions ever since. Twitter gives you things fast. I put up the text of Obama's speech before I actually saw Obama's speech. Because somebody put it up on Twitter. They're like, hey, I posted the Obama speech here, it's up on Now Public, and I'm like, oh, let's check it out.
I heard someone talking about the changing face of the media the other day, and they were saying that it takes an hour for a story to make it onto CNN from when it actually happens to when it's broadcast on television. And it takes about 30 minutes for it to make it on like Drudge Report or some of the other Huffington Post or something like that. It takes about like 7 minutes from event happening, to news people finding it, compared to an hour. So it's so much faster than even blogs or CNN.
Well, the earthquake. Remember the earthquake? Everybody was twittering about that, and that's how most of the world found out that there was an earthquake going on. Let's see now. Status updates, one-liners. Oh yes, the Jack Burton theory of Twitter. I use Twitter like Jack Burton used his CB radio in Big Trouble in Little China. Remember, he would pull that thing out and go, on a dark and stormy night when some big jerk slams your favorite head up against a wall and asks if you've paid your dues, what do you say? You just tell him what old Jack Burton always says, yes, sir, I've paid my dues. The check is in the mail. That's what I use Twitter for. Well, I have to pare it down to 140 characters, but if you can put it in there, that's what I use it for. I also have a professional account for Fearless City. It's not my account, but it's Fearless City's